Who benefits from large taxable Roth conversions? Hi, it's financial planner Sean Mullaney. Let's discuss. So there's debates, there's worries, there's anxieties, there's confusion. What do we do when it comes to tax planning for retirement? And sometimes to help attack that issue, I think we have to step back and ask a much more fundamental question. Today, the question we're going to ask is, who are the primary beneficiaries of large taxable Roth conversions? And I've got two primary beneficiaries, but I want to start with who's not the beneficiary. Well, the first not beneficiary is a working person, right? Most working people are living off their salary, not off their retirement account. So if they do a large taxable Roth conversion, they've just taken money that wasn't taxable to them. They're a working person. They're not drawing that money down. They've just taken that money and put it into taxable income. And oh, by the way, they don't enjoy any of the benefits today. So that person today suffers from a large taxable Roth conversion. That person pays more tax today. So that's not our primary beneficiary. What about our early retiree? Well, usually early retirees don't benefit from large taxable Roth conversions, in part because they're the ones doing them often. So they're same analysis with the worker. They're taking money they weren't spending, they're taxing it, and they're creating income tax, state income tax, federal income tax, maybe you reduce premium tax credit, and they're not currently enjoying it. So it's not today's early retiree who's a primary beneficiary of the large taxable Roth conversion. So then who is it? And I look at two primary classes of beneficiaries when we think about large taxable Roth conversions. The first one is us and potentially our spouse when we're taking RMDs. Mike Piper's done a great analysis around this. I'll link to it in the description below. He talks about one of the big effects of taxable Roth conversions is to reduce harmful effects of taxation of RMDs. Well, okay, so that person is a beneficiary of a large taxable Roth conversion or conversions. But let's think about that person for a second. That person, if they're born in 1960 or later, meaning all of today's and 2026's early retirees, those before Medicare eligibility, all those people are going to be 75 or older. And to really benefit from the large taxable Roth conversion, that person has to be otherwise doing financially well. So what I mean by that, if they're not doing that well financially, they just have some Social Security and a very modest RMD, they're not going to be paying that much tax on that RMD and not much tax at all on that Social Security. So why would they have done Roth conversions? They're a beneficiary that doesn't get much of the benefit. Now, the more affluent 75-year-old, 80-year-old, 85-year-old does potentially get a benefit and perhaps a sizable benefit. But we want to think about that beneficiary. That's a person who's financially well off regardless of the Roth conversion. And that's a person with diminishing energy to spend the money anyway. So that's our first primary beneficiary from a Roth conversion. It's us and our spouse when we're 75 or older. Not that that's an undeserving person. Not that that's a person without any financial concerns. But notice that to be a large beneficiary of that, they've got to be otherwise doing financially well regardless of the Roth conversion. And they may not be in a position because they're getting older and they have diminishing energy to enjoy the money. So yes, they benefit, but are they the best type of beneficiary out there? Okay, so that's our first class. Us and potentially our spouses when we're 75 and older, assuming we're born in 1960 or later. Okay, second class of beneficiaries of large taxable Roth conversions are heirs. Those who are inheriting these retirement accounts, right? Because they're either going to inherit a Roth account or a traditional account. And they have these different rules, but the biggest rule is this. The Roth distributions for the inherited Roth IRA, tax-free, generally speaking. The traditional inherited IRA, taxable to our heirs. And, oh, by the way, they're going to almost certainly have to take it out in most cases over 10 years. That's not 100% true, but it's largely true. It's largely true if we're leaving it to our own children or adult children, particularly our adult children. Our minor children get a little bit of a spread out, and then they have a 10-year rule. Different conversation. But let's assume it's our adult children. Well, okay, that person certainly benefits from the large taxable Roth conversion, 100%, because now they don't have to pay tax on the inherited retirement account distribution. Okay, that's good, but let's think about that person. The person we're shifting benefit to by the large taxable Roth conversion is someone enjoying a financial windfall. Now, I get it. There can be cases where we have ne'er-do-well adult children. We have adult children who have been through life events, who really need the money, and it is a good thing that it's tax-free. But just how compelling is it to benefit maybe an already affluent adult person who has just increased their wealth through a windfall? But that's who the Roth conversion is benefiting in many cases. It's benefiting somebody who's doing just fine financially and just got a windfall. So none of this is to say that Roth conversions can't be beneficial, can't be advisable. But I do think we have to step back and we have to say, well, okay, who's the person or people most likely to benefit from a large taxable Roth conversion? And if that person is a very already financially successful 80-year-old who doesn't need tax savings, right? It might be beneficial to them, but they certainly don't need it because they're going to be just fine anyway. And oh, by the way, they're probably not flying to the tropics in their 80s and 90s because they don't have the energy for the 14-hour flight, but okay. Or it's an adult person who is experiencing a financial windfall, right? Neither class of beneficiary is all that compelling in my view. Now, you can reasonably take a different view. Reasonable minds can differ. But I think teasing out just who these primary beneficiaries are is very important before we start thinking about what's the real advantage, what's the desirability of large taxable Roth conversions, particularly in retirement. What do you think, right? I know there's a lot of controversy on traditional versus Roth. Do we need to do these Roth conversions? Let me know your comments below in the comments. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please mash that like button and subscribe to my channel. I will see you next time.